What is good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to talk about something really cool here, and that is I built my very own GLFW inspired Windows layer. Now, this is Mac specific because I work on Mac, and that's also the sole purpose as to why I should develop my own GLFW inspired window abstraction layer, right? I just wanted control, right? Don't get me wrong, GLFW is amazing. It does exactly what I need it to do, and you can never really go wrong there. It works perfectly fine on Mac. There's really no issues with it. However, I'm a developer and I like breaking things apart, and at some point I just realized that GLFW doesn't really give me as much control as I would like to have. So hence I took the route and the journey to basically build my own Windows layer, just solely to understand how everything works, and also to basically have control as to how I basically implement my backend renderers, right? Because at the moment my engine only supports a Vulkan, which is amazing, by the way. However, I'm on a Mac platform, and we all know that Vulkan isn't necessarily directly supported on Mac. It works, yes, but it's not directly supported. It works through Molten VK, right? Which is still metal under the hood, right? So it only makes sense just to, try and add a metal back end as well for those developers who would really just want to work with metal directly rather than working with Vulkan on this platform, right? So GLFW, I didn't really spend much time using it because normally on Windows I would also just make my own Windows layer, right? I don't really make use of GLFW. I only did it because I moved to Mac and all of that stuff, but now that my experience is actually increasing in terms of development, I learned a few tricks here and there, right? One is building this on MacOS, which is kind of interesting, but also kind of like a lot of work compared to Windows. But once you actually do it over and over again, you realize that it's really not that difficult. It's really simple. It's really simple, to be honest with you. Yes, you have problems such as the menus and all of that stuff once you want to make menus for your application, but those are just once-off type of stuff, and then you can just create configuration files to sort of like do that automatically per application basis, right? So yeah, that's it. This is really how my application works right now, and this is how my system essentially works, right? And the reason why I actually wanted to build my own is because I wanted to support metal. So if you guys have been looking here, you'll notice that I have shaders on metal, and I have metal related stuff, the renderer here, right, which is a metal renderer. So at the moment it's not hooked up to the Windows system yet. Obviously, if you look here, I don't have any way that I'm initializing the renderer, so it's not hooked to the system yet. That's because it's still experimental. Vulkan is supported, yes, and this is not my game engine branch or my game engine folder. It's just my hobby folder where I just test and implement stuff. So you won't see that implementation here, but in the future videos you would, and in my previous videos I believe I did kind of show my window basically rendering a triangle in Vulkan and all of that stuff, right? So in this one, I just wanted to demonstrate how my Windows system works and why I built it. And the sole purpose of this is because we don't have Mac specific libraries, and that's because gaming on Mac OS is not really a huge deal yet, and it's something that I wish that it would actually increase. I wish that people would actually create games on Mac OS a little bit more. I do know that Mac, everything Mac is not really a good place to game, but it seems like Apple is really making some pretty good efforts in terms of the silicon chips. M1, M2 is amazing, and we're going to see M3 in the future, M4, and it will just continue to increase in performance, and eventually these things will be very good gaming machines, I believe, if Apple allows them to be, of course, because they haven't really focused on gamers or game developers as much. However, they are making efforts to make developers who already have video games to be able to port their games to macOS and basically have the games running on macOS natively. However, that system is still new. I believe it was announced this year, if I'm not mistaken. It's still new, still fresh. How the future does hold some hope for gaming on macOS. So me as a developer myself, I just want to enter this market a little bit too early and just sort of like mess around and just be one of the first people essentially to sort of like get good at making games on macOS and understanding how these things kind of actually work. All right. Yeah, if you guys are really interested in these type of stuff and would really like to see more videos like this, if you are a Mac developer and would like to have Mac related stuff on my channel, do hit that subscribe button, and I will definitely make some really good interesting videos for you guys. Be talking about my workflow, how I created my app bundle. If you look carefully, this is actually an app bundle, hence why you have this icon placeholder here. And yeah, my window behaves just like any other normal window. It has its window properties and all of these other stuff. So yeah, that's essentially it right there. So yeah, if you guys want to learn how I did this and would like to follow along with this implementation of my own window layer library, then do hit the subscribe button, as I will in future make this public so you guys can actually download the binaries or the library and just hook it up in your own projects on your machines and basically just develop your own games with it, right? Because it's Mac specific and it will be able to essentially hook up to the operating system a little bit more better than GLFW because it's Mac specific, right? And I'm trying to implement metal support here, which is questionable because it's kind of difficult to do it outside of Xcode. I've done this in Xcode. It works perfectly fine, but doing it outside of Xcode is kind of a challenge because when I'm doing it within Xcode, I'm actually using either I'm using Objective-C completely or I'm using Swift. So it is easier that way because Apple just does all these things for you. But as soon as you close Xcode and you try to develop outside of it, you kind of on your own there. So it is a sacrifice that you have to take if you really like working outside of Xcode to be able to essentially do this from scratch yourself and go through the process of actually creating your own app bundles and all of that stuff on runtime. And actually making your own app bundle whilst compiling this is really not that bad. I just recompile my projects and I can still just open it up like any other app. I don't have to do anything crazy. All these folder creation and everything is just handled in my makefile. My makefile is kind of huge. Actually not that huge, it's just me creating a bunch of folders here which could have just been done in one line, but I just like being explicit with my stuff. So yeah, and these two can actually be merged, but I decided to keep them separate because, well, if you look carefully, one is for the library and one is for the client, and in most cases is either I'm actually just developing the client or I'm just developing the library. So in this project structure, I'm actually developing both at the same time. So I just kind of copy pasted from my previous projects and just created this makefile here. It's not perfect, it's not really optimized, but it works, right? It works. And if you guys want to get some makefile tips and how to actually create makefiles, I kind of do have a video on this. It's very old. I think I did it last year. You guys can check that out if it's still relevant. If not, and you want me to make a new updated one, hit me up in the comment sections and I'll gladly do one. But yeah, this is it for this video. Do stay tuned for more. Do hit the subscribe button and I'll see you guys on the new video. So yeah, kind of messed up my outro there. Forgive me.